So this video here was originally intended to be, well, just one video topic, but it's actually going to turn into at least three. This is part one of at least three. I'm looking at the Seventh-day Adventist chronological chart here in the Great Controversy. You're going to see here in a minute. You're going to see this book here in a minute. And I'm looking at just the point of the papacy being set up in 538 AD and then being dissolved in 1798. That is expressed in this book as the fulfillment of Daniel 7:25. Where in Daniel 7:25 it says, and he's going to change times and law. Okay, well, Adventists interpret that to say, well, that's the papacy, that's the fourth beast in Daniel 7, who's going to change the Sabbath. After all, the Catholics said they changed the Sabbath, right? And we always believe everything the Catholics say. So, anyway, it became really clear to me really fast that, yes, I'm going to deal with Daniel 7:25 next, but I also have to deal with Constantine in 321, because there's confusion here in terms of what really happened between these two events and these two dates. This video here is going to look at Constantine's edict of 321, and it's going to look at certain aspects of Daniel 7:25. Not all of them. Again, that's going to follow here. So with this, recall Daniel 7:25 in the erroneous Adventist chronological understanding of things as the papacy, who is the fourth beast in the vision of Daniel, who gets this vision of this fourth beast, and in Adventism, that fourth beast is going to change times and law, and that fourth beast is the papacy. So with that, let's look at this chronological chart here from the Great Controversy, and I want you to note the 217-year gap. So here is the very book that I just held up, that I seem to always use, 1888 edition, by the way. And here is that famous chart in Ellen White's book. You can see it's not a numbered page, but it's between pages 328 and 329 in my book. So this video is going to look at what you see on the right, 321, Constantine Sunday Edict. 217-year break. Then we got the papacy set up at 538, going away in 1798. That's in fulfillment of Daniel 7:25. So let's start with the 321 edict. Who issued that edict in 321? Well, you just saw it on the chart. What did it say? Constantine. Are you sure? Was it Constantine? Did he do it alone? Did he have help? We're going to see what Adventists say about that. Was the Pope involved? Was there even a Pope? Was the Roman Catholic Church involved? Was there even a Roman Catholic Church? Was it a Roman Church? Was it a bishop? It's going to be all very interesting to see this. What happened in 321 and who did it? Let's see what the Adventists say. So, what do Adventists say? Well, here we're going to start with November 1880. The first Sunday law was what? Constantine 321. Then it says, keep this in mind, because you're going to see something like this later. Christians generally continue to keep the Sabbath until when? The 5th century. Okay. Next, June 1886. The Catholic Church, so-called, had an existence at the time of Constantine. There it is. Catholic Church existed with Constantine. Constantine's first Christian emperor. In his day were the Catholics, so it follows that any decree would be what? A Catholic decree. So what happened in 321? It's not Constantine, it's Constantine with the Catholics that changed this. 1894, you see clearly now, it's a papal Sabbath in the signs of the times. It was selected early in the Christian era by the Papal or Catholic Church and substituted for the Seventh-day Sabbath of the Lord, first Sunday law 321. So, who's involved in 321? Papacy. It's a papal Sabbath. Along with Constantine, they did it in 321. 1933. Now we see it's just Emperor Constantine, but it was the Catholic Church that made it a religious festival. So it has the backing of the Catholic Church that he did it. So in 1950, it says about AD 150, Sabbath keeping, Sunday keeping, began in the Roman Church. We just saw 500 in another one, didn't we? It says Christians kept the Sabbath until the 5th century. Now we see something a little different. Now we see Sunday keeping started in 150. But they don't tell us why. And then it goes on to say it was Rome that Constantine issued his famous Sunday law in 321. which, although a civil law, was probably instigated in part by the leaders of the Roman Church. So they're waffling a little bit here, probably. But nonetheless, any Adventist is going to read this and go, it's Roman Church leaders through Constantine that did this. Now we have here this first command of the first day observance, 321, Constantine, heathen emperor. It's an institution begotten by paganism, brought up by popery, and exalted and enthroned by Protestantism. Everybody's involved in this one. Protestants, the Pope, changed the Sabbath when? 321 AD. Now we have again 1945, and we have a graphic. And here's Constantine, and here's the Pope. And look, he got his dirty little Pope hands on the document, making Constantine sign it. He's changing the Sabbath in 321. Just this graphic here shows you. Here's the Pope. Here's a Pope assistant. There's Constantine changing the Sabbath. When? 321. Now we get to 1968. And what's it say? Emperor Constantine has assumed the virtual presidency of the Christian Church, which at that time had no Pope. Oh, didn't we just see that there was a Pope, there's a Roman Church, there's Rome, and there's Constantine, and now we're saying Pope did not exist. All right, you just saw 8 different entities as the author of this 321 AD edict that happened to involve Constantine. I guess the answer is, except, or maybe you saw 7 different ones that involve Constantine and someone else. My favorite one is the Pope did it with his dirty little Pope hands on the document you saw. And then we see later what? There's no such thing as a Pope. This is going to get very confusing very fast. At least for Seventh-day Adventists it is. So did the Sabbath really change in 321 AD? Did it? Or did it not? Or did the Sabbath gradually change? Because we saw some indications that, well, Christians were keeping the Sabbath up to the 5th century. Or maybe it was the first 150 years. I don't know. They don't seem to know either. And did it kind of gradually change and then really change in 538? Because the papacy is associated to the 321 AD date like we just saw, that change invokes in the Adventist mind an understanding of Daniel 7:25 to change the times and the laws. But what's the problem with that? Daniel 7:25 doesn't start in 321. It starts in 538. Uh-oh. That's 217 years too early for Daniel 7:25. So ascribing, in Adventism, ascribing responsibility of 321 AD to the papacy, the Pope, we've already seen it. They've done it several times. Of course, then they say Pope exists, doesn't exist. This is like a magical Pope. Is to align the 321 AD to Daniel 7:25. But you can't do that, right? Daniel 7:25 starts when again? 538 AD. And the Constantine edict is 321 AD. You can't have these two together. A lot of confusion here. So we already saw that the papacy, I love this one, was unknown. It seems like Seventh-day Adventists kind of started to realize that, we got a problem here with history, and there was no Pope in 321 AD. But we saw a bunch of magazines that told us there was a Pope and there was a Roman Church. So anyway, Adventists, let me just say this, do not know what actually changed in 321 AD or who did it. Don't know. That point of the chronology on your chart is a big fail. The Adventist chronological chart says the 321 edict is Constantine. But we just saw there's at least 7 others who are involved with Constantine. It's not Constantine's edict then. It's Constantine and somebody else. Maybe it's Constantine and the Pope, or Constantine and the Pope that magically disappears, in the 1960s. Forget when that quote was. Point is, that chart completely wrong. I'm still unsure in Adventist chronology what happened in 321 AD and who did it, because we just saw contradictory explanations for that. Now we've got to ask, well, when did this whole papacy thing start? Oh, let's let the Adventists explain that to us. Was it 321? Was it 538? Was it something in between? Let's look. So when did the papacy start? Let's go back here. Look, November 6, 1900. Started in what? 538. Okay, that's pretty clear. You don't like those dates? How about these? Let's change it up. Adventism, they can't ever teach the same thing twice. Well, they'll teach it like 5 or 6 different ways. From 508 to 538, the papacy succeeded in being set up. That's a 30-year setup here. Well, you don't like those dates? That's fine. I got another set for you. How about this one? The papacy, the series of events beginning in 533, culminated in 538. Now, that's only a 5-year setup. We saw in the previous one it was a 30-year setup. Now we squeezed it down to 5. How about this one? When did the papacy begin? We don't know. Throw your hands up. Read the red text. The precise date of the beginning of the 1260 years. Much agitation has centered about this point. I wouldn't think so, because if you look at the chronology, doesn't it say that the 1260 years began in 538 AD, ends in 1798? What do you mean agitation? Don't you Adventists know it? Then it says, some have limited it to but 1 year, 538. Others have taken a group of events covering several years, but terminating in 538. Kind of what we just saw, wasn't it? 505, or or a 30-year setup. How about this one here? This is like Back to the Future. Now we go back in 1934 and we're just saying, hey, the papacy was established in 538. We're not even going to worry about what you just saw. Are you confused yet? When did the papacy start? Because these guys don't know, but the chronology acts like they know, but they don't know. How about this one? This is the we don't know, but we do know. It existed by 350, so that we don't know, but we do know. It's important to fix a definite date for the emergence of the Catholic Church, but it was clearly in existence by 350. And then it goes on to say by 538, the papacy was established and was functioning politically. They were functioning politically when, in 538? Didn't we just see several magazines that said the papacy was involved in changing the Sabbath before 538? How could they be functioning politically in 538 when they were already functioning politically well before that? This chronology is a mess. Okay, when did the papacy begin? You just saw 6 different start dates, some going back to the future, I guess we could say. You just saw an admission that the SDA, Daniel 7:25, 1260-year prophecy, which is supposed to start in 538 for papal supremacy, is, well, we don't know when it started. Like some cases they say we know when it started, and then you saw in the other cases they, well, we don't know when it started. So this Adventist chart that shows the papal supremacy, the system set up and functioning politically in 538 AD, not 321 AD. Well, if that's true, then what changed in 321? There we are again. Nothing. If the papacy was set up and functioning politically in 538 AD, according to Daniel 7:25, then what changed in AD in 321 AD? Nothing. Or it was just Constantine's grand suggestion. It's a toothless law, I guess we could say. So we earlier saw that the Papal Church participated in the 321 AD edict of Constantine. And we're acting politically, but then we just saw that they can't act politically because it didn't exist till 538. See what I mean? This is one big contradictory mess. But the Adventist chronology demands a papal system and the fourth beast to change the times and laws. So if the papal system rose to supremacy in 538 and changed times and laws, then nothing happened in 321. Nothing. So what do we know? We know that this 321 edict by Constantine, it's not Constantine's edict. It's Constantine and the Roman Church, Constantine and the papacy, Constantine and church leaders, Constantine and the Church of Rome, and the Catholic Church, and etc., etc., etc. Keep this in mind. If the papal system is involved right here, and we just read 8 different accounts, and that this is in fulfillment of Daniel 7:25, because it takes the Daniel 7:25 Adventist thought of the times, changing the times and the laws, for the Catholic Church to change the laws, but that didn't happen until 538. That means in 321, that's 217 years too early. What exactly happened in 321? And who did it? I don't know. And Adventists don't know either. How about this? What about the papacy? Well, when was the papacy set up? Well, we see a couple times that they said it was set up and functioning politically at 538. Then we got other ones that say, well, no, it was kind of setting it up in 508, kind of setting it up in 533. Other ones saying, well, we really don't know, but we do know it was starting to be set up about 350. If the papacy is set up as early as 350, but Constantine supposedly changed the Sabbath in 321 with the papacy, as you saw, then how does this work again? What actually happened in 321? What actually happened in 538? I got 4 different papacy setup dates and 2 admissions that we don't know. These two chronology points here are utterly confusing. Here's what I do know. The Seventh-day Adventism does not know who was involved in the 321 AD edict, and it doesn't know when the papacy began. And if you don't know when the papacy began, Seventh-day Adventist, your Daniel 725 so-called prophetic 1260 years is now in question. You don't even know when it began, and you don't even know what actually, if it began in 321, then this 538 day doesn't even mean anything. Adventists don't know these 2 points on their chronology, and you just saw 8 different 321 edict participants, and you got roughly 5 different when the papacy began statements. Chronological chart is just a theological vomit of cat hairball. So you see the Seventh-day Adventist sources are utterly confused involving the 321 Constantine edict. It's actually not the Constantine edict. It's the Constantine and the Roman Pope Catholic Church edict, or the Pope didn't exist. You can pick one. So did the Sabbath really change in 321 AD or not? Or was it a sort of change? You got this guy Constantine working with some other people who changed the Sabbath, and they really didn't change it because it can't happen until later. So when did it happen? Or is it the Daniel 725 538 AD prophecy in the 1260 years, and the Sabbath changed then? Well, that means it didn't change in 321. Which of the 8 321 edicts, the 8 authors of the edict, which one's correct? You can pick. I bet if I looked more, and I didn't look totally, I bet if I looked more, I'd probably find 15 different authors and ways to find it. But I got 8. 8. Adventists can't even get their own chronology right. So if the Sabbath changed in 321 AD, that's 217 years too early to fulfill the Daniel 725 prophecy. Then it's done. It changed already. But if the Sabbath was changed in Adventist understanding of Daniel 725, which is starting them, they say, I'll just go with what Ellen says in her chart, that the papacy was set up in 538 AD. If that happened, then there was no change in 321. So all references to 321 and the Sabbath changing are in error. You can't have it both ways. This SDA chronological chart is a confused mess. Who changed what and when? When did the papacy start? And how did Constantine change it? That's a big mess. Adventism teaches contradictory things on it. We just don't know. Adventists don't even know. We already know that the chronology and the rise of the Catholic supremacy, right, started in 538 AD. The changing of the times and the laws. Let's look here at that passage so we all know exactly what we're talking about here. There it is, Daniel 7:23. That's the fourth beast. Daniel 7:25. There it is. There's the 538 point on the chronology, and he shall think to change times and law. So how can Adventists use Daniel 7:25 as prophetic fulfillment of the Sabbath being changed when we have the Sabbath being changed by edict and Constantine in 321 AD, 217 years before the papacy is set up? The best, here's the best. This is what I was thinking. Here's the best an Adventist can say. That in about 321 AD, this guy named Constantine, working with Pope, working with Roman Church, working with somebody. This guy Constantine was working with somebody. He wanted to change the Sabbath in 321 AD. He issued a law to change the Sabbath, but nobody really did it. No, it wasn't followed universally. And we really don't exactly know when the Catholic Church started, but he tried to change the Sabbath, which means he didn't change it. You can't try to change it. Either you did or you didn't, and it doesn't sound like he did. So he didn't. And eventually, 217 years later, when the papacy is set up, according to Daniel 7:25, then the Sabbath really changed. That's the best you could say. Again, what happened in 321 AD and by who? I don't know. We've got 8 different answers here. This video has proven the SDA chronological chart is a big fail at both the 321 AD point for Constantine and the 538 AD Daniel 7:25 point of the papacy being set up. We don't even know when the papacy was set up. So when did it change? 321 or 538? So when did the Sabbath change? Well, let's look at this. That an attempt to change the Sabbath would be made is clearly foretold in the Scriptures. We find it in the prophecies, Daniel 7:25. So the Sabbath is going to change because of Daniel 7:25. But wait, remember Daniel 7:25 is the 1260-year prophecy beginning when? 538, not 321. So any reference to a Sabbath change in 321 AD is incorrect, because Daniel 7:25 starts in 538. Let's see what they did it again. Here in July of 1893, Daniel predicted that the Pope, just show me that in the Bible, by the way. Where does Daniel 7:25 say it's the Pope that Daniel predicted it? Daniel didn't. It's the beast. And by the way, another video coming on Daniel 7:25 specifically. Well, if Daniel predicted that the Pope of Rome is going to change the Sabbath according to Daniel 7:25, here we are again with that problem. Daniel 7:25 is bounded between two dates, 538 and 1798. That means nothing happened in 321 if it's according to Daniel 7:25. 1918, what did they say? The Church of Rome changed the Sabbath according to Daniel 7:25. Same problem. If the Sabbath is changed according to Daniel 7:25, that's 538. Nothing happened in 321. 1933. I like this. We're going to kind of throw everything on the plate here in Adventism. The first law ever made setting Sunday apart as a day of rest was made by Constantine. Right there it is, 321. Then we got, I've seen this a few times, this 364 Council of Laodicea. And then we got the Catholic power was to think to change times in the law. Well, that's 538. Are you telling me that in 321 there was a law made, but very few, if anybody, ever followed it? And then some other law was 364, which means it really wasn't a law. It was Constantine's grand suggestion, and nobody followed it, at least in Adventism, until Daniel 7:25 came and it was fulfilled. But that has to happen in 538. Can't happen in 321. How about this? 1938. In fulfillment of this forecast, what's the forecast? Look above, Daniel 7:25, of the attempted change of God's law and decree against Sabbath observance. Daniel 7:25 is, again, bounded by the time period of 538 to 1798. And then they go on in this, and you can read it, they talk about 321 AD. Well, if the Sabbath was changed in Adventism according to Daniel 7:25, it can't be any earlier than 538. So why even mention 321? See, this is your own prophetic, and I'm using air quotes, chart, Adventist, refutes it. So, if the Sabbath was changed in 321 AD, then any reference to Daniel 7:25 and the 538 date is wrong. Again, these two dates are contrasting with each and in tension with each other in this whole entire video. If the Sabbath was changed in 538, then it wasn't changed in 321. You're going to have to pick one, Adventist, and show me. What's clear is Adventists don't know which one, because I see in your magazines you use both of them interchangeably. You use 321, Constantine changed the Sabbath. You use Daniel 7:25, the Papacy System changed the Sabbath in 538 AD. And in the Adventist mind, they never put the two together, the 321 date and the 538 date, and see the conflict, like you have just been shown. Just today, an hour ago, as I'm preparing to videotape this video, I'm on my computer and I get a comment from an Adventist that says, just today he told me, he said, Constantine changed the Sabbath, and then he quoted Daniel 7:25 to me. Do you see what he just did? See how Adventists don't even know. Just today. So he tells me Constantine changed the Sabbath, and then he quotes about the times and law, Daniel 7:25. So I wrote him back and I said, do you know you just contradicted everything you wrote? If Constantine changed the law in 321 AD, Adventist Chronology prophetically says the Catholic Church rose to supremacy in 538. There was no Catholic Church in 321. So how could he change times and laws when the Catholic Church supposedly didn't exist? I haven't heard back from my Adventist friend yet. We'll see what happens. But see, living proof. And what a coincidence that I would get that comment about an hour before I'm recording this video. Coincidence? You can be the judge on that. Let's wrap this up. So what do we got here? We got a chart that's on fire. Who changed the Sabbath? In 321? Is it Constantine? Was it the Pope and Constantine? And then we say later, well, the Pope doesn't exist, and it's Constantine with papal oversight, and then it's the Roman Catholic Church helping him out. It's the Catholic Sabbath. It's Rome. It's not Constantine. It's Constantine and some Roman entity. But how can that be if it's the papacy, according to Daniel 7:25, which starts in 538? And we already saw in a previous Advent magazine that the papacy was set up in 538 and assuming political activity. That one sentence in that one article just rendered everything you see here, except for the last one, everything you see here as error. This chart is on fire on just these 2 points. What do we have? We've got an epic fail of this Adventist chronology. This Adventist chronology is falling 1 point at a time. So you know what, Seventh-day Adventists? Take these Bible verses and read them carefully, because the time is here when Seventh-day Adventists will not endorse sound doctrine, but they got itching ears and accumulate for themselves teachings of Ellen White to suit their own passion. Adventists, you are turning away from the truth. You are wandering off into a chart of myths, as you've just seen this one go down. As for you, this is Paul talking to Timothy, be sober-minded, endure suffering, do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. You know what? That's to me. I'm fulfilling my ministry, which is exposing the error of Seventh-day Adventists. Now, to you Seventh-day Adventists that are troubled by this, and I hope some of you are, it is time to get out of this false religion.